late. I do not think my concentration would hold.
Very, very fair. Alright, so we are off, and let's see what we have in the throne room. Looks like we're going to have double key and fairy water. Yep, and was that hurt that I saw, or was that heal? That is level 1 hurt, so not a bad thing to have early game to pick up some extra EXP pretty quickly. Alright, we got Treasury, Magic Key, Stones of Sunlight, Big Gold, and that gold is going to be grindable for Koper because he set up correctly, and it looks like also an herb as an extra bonus as well. So jkoper here is going to actually use the chest glitch, which happens anytime you have 8 or more chests stored in memory as open without touching the overworld. And in this case, because it happened in a double key start, you have 3 chests in memory from opening the initial 3 in the throne room. And then when you go back up to save your game before you use the key to check the treasury, what happens is the game will put those 3 chests in the throne room back into memory again, putting you up to 6. And then he opened the first 2 chests that had the key and the stones to make 8, and now he is able to take a full complement of 6 herbs and all of the money that you could ever want for an entire seed from that one chest there. So very nice early, and thanks to that magic key being in there as well, he can also full stock his keys before leaving the castle. Xarnax getting outside the castle a little bit, stretching his legs, and using his MP to get a decent amount of early EXP thanks to the hurt spell. And Xarnax already level 3, less than a minute and a half in. Actually, just slightly over a minute and a half. I do believe our timer started a little late, unfortunately. So for anyone new to Dragon Warrior Randomizer who is joining us at the wee hours of the morning, first of all, thank you very much. And to cover what we have here in Dragon Warrior Randomizer, so the overworld is fully randomized, and generally will consist of 2 continents connected via the Swamp Cave. The layouts inside of all towns and caves are completely vanilla, they are not randomized whatsoever. However, their locations on the overworld obviously will be. And in order to defeat the Dragon Lord, which is our ultimate objective here, we are going to need to acquire the Staff of Rain, the Stones of Sunlight, which we saw was in the treasury very early on, and Erdrick's Token. We will take these 3 items to as we like to call him, the jerk in the community, who is residing in Tantagel Castle's basement at the moment. We call him the jerk because if you do not have Erdrick's Token when you talk to him, you will be promptly booted from his premise. And then you give the staff, the stones, and the token to that guy. He will give you the rainbow drop that creates the magical rainbow bridge over to the Dragon Lord's castle of Sharlock that we will be searching for on the map. The caveat for this is that the staff first requires that you find the silver harp and take it to the one old man in a cave who is guarding the Staff of Rain, only to give to whoever brings him the silver harp. On top of that, we will be looking for Erdrick's armor, as it is required to reduce the fire breath of the Dragon Lord to tolerable levels that we can actually survive through in the endgame fight. And then our gear and stats to be able to kind of balance our damage, our health, and our healing ability to successfully take down the Dragon Lord, who, unlike in the standard game, where he has 130 HP, in Randomizer it is a randomized range between 150 and 165. And both players, despite having different names, are both rocking the strength HP builds today. So you'll see them with better HP and strength growth going into the later levels at the cost of having a very, very slight deficiency in those stats early on. Nothing to really be alarmed about, as it will all balance out by the time we hit roundabouts level 16 to get ready to go face the Dragon Lord. It's super late here as well, Bovinity. It is 2 a.m. for the East Coast over here, so not an early race, but somebody's got to take it. And Xarnax with what I believe is our first town sighting through a swamp, but unfortunately gets blocked by a Star Wyvern and sent back to the castle. And we have jkoper a little bit behind on EXP, but he's packing around 10,000 gold. So if he can find a town to get to reasonably safely, he could look to convert that into some really nice equipment for this early on in the run, and that could end up swinging the race quite heavily, making it significantly easier to take out some of these mid-tier enemies where even with the hurt spell, you probably still have to spend maybe 2 turns, maybe 3 to kill them. And take what I just said and throw it straight out the window, because Xarnax has just hit level 5, and we find the nuke spell of Dragon Warrior Randomizer known as Hurtmore. So Hurtmore notably dealing about 50 to 65 damage to enemies. So all those mid-tier enemies I just spoke of pretty much will go down to one single casting using 5 MP and very quickly accelerating both players' EXP growths once they have access to that. Xarnax getting a little trolled by that NPC down there. Going to maybe opt to rest at the inn? And we did see that the overworld search location, or I'm sorry, the coal search location was indeed the fairy flute. Alright, looks like we have managed to get the stats up. That is a good thing. We weren't quite sure whether we were going to be able to get that due to a little bit of restream issue at the final hour before the getting everything together for the race. So big thanks to Ryu, who is, albeit quiet, but my co-commentator tonight, for doing the double duty and kicking in and getting the restream up for us so that we can bring you this race tonight.
Alright, and thank you. Yes, finally managed to get that sorted out through a little bit of effort, but we are all ready to go now.
Alright, well, I don't know if you caught quite everything, as we have synchronized leveling to 5 and 6 for both players here, but we have what is shaping out to probably end up being a pretty fast seed with level 5 Hurtmore and level 1 Hurt. So while jkoper was toting that gold around for a really long time, and it would be nice if he could actually make it up there to Cole and get the magic armor, which would do wonders until we actually find Erdrick's armor. not looking to pay off nearly as much as it perhaps could have if we never saw Hurtmore until level 13 plus.
Yeah, Hurtmore definitely always a want, especially early on. You can take on some of these tougher enemies, as Xarnax is showing, taking on a armored knight who will usually punch you for a very large amount. As you see that possibly misinput there, he did 1 damage to the armored knight, so not able to do too much to it physically, but magically easily taking it out.
And yet another level up, as getting a really high tier monster like an Armor Knight this early on is all but an entire level up this early, so very quickly up to level 7. And jkoper has successfully found Cole. We'll unfortunately see that magic armor there, and maybe be a little bit disappointed that he lost some of his 10,000 gold that he initially grinded for at the very early gold grind. And I would assume jkoper picked up the flute. I don't think you possibly go through Cole without searching that spot before even checking the shop.
Yeah, he did definitely pick up the flutes, and I would have to say would probably be just as disappointed to not see the Erdrick's armor. But Xarnax venturing into Gernham's grave now, which has been a host of goodies in quite a few of the races that we had today.
Indeed. I presume that this was the cave, like, just to the right of Cole?
Yes, that was the cave just to the right of Cole. jkoper went a different direction, though, it would seem.
Yeah, it looks like he went more to the northwest. We have Xarnax getting level 8. So Xarnax electing to not take that early gold grind and just get his boots out on the ground and start getting the EXP thanks to the level 1 hurt spell and a decently respectable amount of MP, off to a nice 400 EXP lead, which at 11 minutes in is definitely nothing to sneer at, though he will not be able to full dive the Grave of Garen, as he never... It's actually kind of interesting. He never converted his extra key from the throne room. He actually still has it, to my knowledge, because he also doesn't have the Stones of Sunlight. So...
Yeah, well, one thing is for sure, both of our runners will now have a full stock of keys, as they have both located Remolder.
What was in the Remolder Inn?
Unfortunately, jkoper was not able to check it. He had 1 key, but not 2, so he took a rest at the inn. We'll buy some keys,
okay,
and then we'll get to take a peek. And it looks like jkoper...
Alright, so we might see it on Xarnax first, then.
Yeah, and it looks like jkoper may be even more disappointed that he didn't grind more and be able to keep some of that gold, as we have Flame Sword and Silver Shield in the Remolder shop, which would be a great benefit to him right now. But since there was gold in the treasury, he knows a gold grind is still available to him.
Indeed. Well, yeah. It is available once we find... Koper has not found the grave yet.
Well, this is true, but it is only a matter of time before he finds it. It's just south of Remolder. I can't imagine him not locating it.
Yeah, at least for right now, though, it does look like he's going to be traveling north from Remolder instead of south. And we had just money in the Rimeldar Inn, so we get yet another completely nothing of value in Remolder Inn seed.
However, we do have jkoper finding Gernham, so that gives him access to 3 chests, along with another cave, and Xarnax collecting the chest in the grave, stocking up on herbs, and potentially setting up for at least a gold grind. potentially once he has dove to the bottom of Garanham's grave.
Yeah, well, with just the 3 chests, it's already available. But the issue here, though, is that Xarnax doesn't actually know precisely which chest in the treasury actually has it. So if he follows the kind of normal routing where you take the 2 bottom chests first, he would actually still end up with the gold chest that it happens to be in the middle of the treasury. But if he just grabs the middle one first and like goes around the outside, he would actually end up missing the gold grind. Unless he
True.
does successfully get through to the bottom of the grave.
Yeah, with collecting those 3 chests, he may be going with that thought in mind that collecting those 3 chests plus the other 2, that gives you your 5, and then with 3 more chests getting added to the pool once you go to the throne room, that's your 8. So you don't even have to worry about what chest is what in the armory there, or in the treasury. And we do see jkoper did pick up the silver harp in Garanham, so Garanham definitely a sought after town.
And now we will see a basement check.
And looks like South Swamp.
Yep. It definitely looks like South Swamp to me, because it's the only cave I am capable of doing in the dark, because it's the easiest layout to bonk off of.
Yeah, the dark caves, it can certainly be a challenge, that is for sure.
It's even worse when you have a controller that really does not like to input correctly. So it's almost impossible to even properly bunk my way around sometimes. And we see the last chest in the grave only being more money, so not anything terribly great in the grave. And it looks like Swamp led to absolutely nothing.
Yeah, big old empty continent full of trees. And yeah, I can definitely understand that feeling on the not quite as good controller, not affording you very many bonks. I personally use a PS3 Afterglow controller, and it does not like the D-pad inputs on that thing at all. Then again, Dragon Warrior, it didn't like inputs, period.
Yeah, I have an Xbox 360 controller, which might actually beat you on the crappy D-pad contest. But yeah, it is a hybrid problem of controller for at least the 2 of us, and I'm sure some other people out there. But Dragon Warrior is also just absolutely notorious for always being completely a hungry monster, and its favorite snack is inputs, and it will eat them all day, every day. And you see it sometimes in the most unfortunate circumstance when it eats one of your up inputs on the Dragon Lord 2 fight and you accidentally throw a hurt more instead of a heal more. And we don't like to see that ever, but it is just one of the many charms of Dragon Warrior.
Oh yeah, I know it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to everyone at least one time on that Dragon Lord fight. But yeah, the A and the B inputs, it's always real good about those. You know, that moment when you don't get the up and you push A and you're just hoping it eats that input. No, never. But the D-pad, really good at the D-pad input eating.
And just for some stats so far, so I'm not fully caught up on today's and a couple of yesterday's seeds quite yet. Doing some stat work so I can bring some interesting stats to commentary. This, so far out of the 6 seeds that I have watched, this is only the 2nd seed to feature a completely worthless, empty second continent. And is actually we haven't even seen a single seed without a gold grind available yet. 2 of the seeds have only had ghetto gold grinds available, but at least it's something there. Here we definitely have a much more traditional gold grind available, as we probably expect to see Xarnax grinding. I anticipate 5,000. I don't think he's going to go Flame Sword. I think he's only going to go Magic Armor and Silver Shield. Since we have Hurt More, you can get away with just something like a Hand Axe or a Broadsword for now, until you find the big weapon stick known as Erdrick's Sword. But He could prove me wrong and just go for the full Monty 32,300 and buy literally the best gear that money can get. And we have bonus cave for jkoper.
Yeah, that is something that you do have to take into account, especially when you have something like Hurt More. Physical damage, it's not always the most important thing.
Yeah, as we have seen so far in this tournament, the most popular enemy to grind on has been Axe Knights when they are on a spike tile. And there is a very justifiable reason for that, as they are pretty much the pinnacle of EXP as far as a measure of XP over time, as they're usually, I don't know the exact numbers for their health rolls and like how often they'll die to a single hurt more, but it's probably at least a 50-50 that they'll die to a single hurt more. Ooh, and we see jkoper one step away from a town really far away and getting caught at low health, low MP by a sleep-using Demon Knight.
Yes, the old slept and wrecked.
Indeed, and Xarnax should have the Stones of Sunlight now, as he has full rated the treasury. Or at least I hope he did the top left chest. That'd be really unfortunate if he didn't. Oh no, actually top left was the herb. Never mind. So I know he did the two bottom ones, so he definitely has the stones. And we did see the full Monty from Xarnax, so he is indeed going in for that flame sword as well. Very possibly not a bad decision. He's level 9 with 93 HP already. Could honestly get the flame sword, and depending on stat growths, might never even need to find Erdrick's sword.
That is actually true. You may not actually need Erdrick's sword in order to take out the Dragon Lord, whereas the flame sword it's almost as good.
Yeah, just a difference of 12 attack power. It is reasonably significant when fighting the Dragon Lord, but depending on how the rest of the seed falls, I mean, just yesterday we witnessed Tristal taking down the Dragon Lord with the good old reliable broadsword. Not even fancy or on fire, just good old broadsword.
That is true. That was definitely a feat with taking out the Dragon Lord with using a broadsword. Next we need to see the bamboo Dragon Lord kill though.
Yeah, that's the real challenge for anybody who wants to play a challenge-y seed this tournament is kill the Dragon Lord with the bamboo pole. And definitely something we should note here. We did see jkoper do that gold grind super early on the initial treasury raid when he was able to set it up off of double dipping into memory the throne room chest. But we see Xarnax doing the full Monty gold grind now, and it's going to be a lot safer for Xarnax to get around with that gold, as he's already level 9, he has Hurt More, he has Repel, he can kind of traverse a little bit safer, though I believe he's out of herbs? I don't think he restocked in coal, and I know I saw him use his... Oh, okay, we already have Heal More, I missed that. Never mind. Looks like Heal More was level 7 or 8. And we have Hawksness on jkoper's side. Might be interested in finding out what the spike tile is.
I've actually been doing a little bit of research here in the background, and I believe Xarnax has actually chosen the female goof-off for his sprite. That would be the female goof-off from Dragon Warrior 3.
Yeah, like at early glance, it looks like it's either that or like a dancer style sprite. So I'm not very familiar with Dragon Warrior 2, 3, or 4, as I've only played 2 and 3 on their Game Boy remakes much further into the future, so I can't even guarantee that they have the same sprite work.
I see. And yes, after getting a better look at it, I can confirm that that is the female goof off from Dragon Warrior 3. Dragon Warrior 4, I could definitely nail them right off, but 2 and 3, not quite as familiar with those. Yeah, so Xarnax showing off one of the many sprites that Xarnax helps to create. I have to say, I'm a little curious as to when Xarnax might give jkoper his Trogdor to use, though.
Darkrid, what's the GPS icon for? That is for if they get Gwaelin's love to help them find the coordinates on the overworld after saving Gwaelin from the swamp cave and delivering her back to the throne room.
Which, so far, has not been disproven to be needed, as we found the fairy flute and coal. We have no coordinates as of yet, and we also have not located Hawksness to even have an attempt to see what's hiding in Hawksness. But one of those two will hold.
We did see Hawksness on Jacob's side,
okay.
But I believe he got sent home only a couple steps away from the spike tile. And if I'm not mistaken with his pathing, I believe he's heading straight back there right now. Maybe wanting to give another attempt. If it's something like the Axe Knight, since we do have enough HP to take a shot. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this was Hawksness, the town that he got blocked one tile from.
Okay, yes,
yeah,
he is indeed.
He might be looking to check this with Hurtmore and see if he can actually get an early check for either the armor or the token.
Well, we do know that the armor has to either be here or on the world, as it cannot be in a chest. And oof, a blue dragon. 2 Hurtmores will take out a blue dragon, though, if he's able to do it. Oh man, and sleep as well, though.
Yeah, sleep, baby breath, and then you've got coin flip Hurtmores. Not exactly friendly for jkoper right now. And a little surprised to, like, 76 hit points, 10 MP left, and opting to run. I think I would have just, like, flipped a coin there, and if you take another hit, you can go in and flip the coin again. He might be thinking he needs to hit the first coin.
Oh, it wasn't a blue dragon. The blue dragon was prior.
Right in front. Okay. This is much more preferable. And I do believe that jkoper has the copper sword. I believe I saw him buy a copper sword at one of the earlier towns.
And I will defer to you on the statistics, but have we had a GPS required seed yet? Or at least a seed where coordinates were required, rather.
1.
Wow, 1 so far, wow.
This would only be the second of 6 seeds that I have analyzed that would have a actually required overworld tile. 4 of them have either been the flute or completely empty. Notable is that in the 1 seed where it was required, it indeed required the Gwaelin positioning system.
Those are always my favorites. The ones where when you get coordinates and there's something you need at those coordinates, and it's a good 100 paces away at least.
Well, what we've actually been seeing more often than not so far in this tournament is the coordinate location will often be on the other side of Swamp. And that is not countable, as you have a cave to go through and you haven't the slightest clue where you actually are.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
Xarnax will be rescuing Gwaelin, promptly leaving the swamp cave and going to deliver her back to the throne room to acquire the Gwaelin positioning system.
yeah, I mean, it is certainly not an easy task to count out a long position as let's say you have 50 this way and then 50 that way. Those are already difficult enough as is, but then when it's on another continent, then it just becomes that much more of a pain, and almost does guarantee that the GPS will be needed. However, sometimes you can be lucky, like where jkoper just passed through there. You can see how there's some water, but you can see land masses on the other side. You can sometimes use that to count and then mark your space and get to the other side and continue your count from there. Although when you have access to the GPS, I mean, you may as well get the GPS, unless it's just that easy.
The GPS is it's so much easier to use when you have longer counts. And the other thing is, like, though, you don't want to get into the situation that we've seen a couple runners be in where they stop their count a couple tiles off and then are just like, oh god, search, and suddenly what was already a long expedition counting your way to the coordinates suddenly takes a minute and a half longer because you need to check, like, every tile in a 5x5 radius to make sure that you actually get it. And hello, Will. And regarding the capital J, it is yet one of the many, many names that we have for the Strength HP build. Both players rocking the Strength HP tonight, so we will see even stats as far as level ups are concerned.
Yeah, more often than not, that's generally what'll be seen as Strength HP, as it is almost always the preferred build. But we do occasionally see the Strength Agility build come out as well. There are a few dedicated Strength Agility players as well.
I believe Ouijawee, if I remember from last night. And jkoper successfully takes down the Stoneman and is rewarded with Erdrick's armor.
Ah, so we have Vanilla Armor and Vanilla Flute. Will we see Vanilla Token Coordinate? Or will we need to find another random chest somewhere for that token?
Alright, well, it feels like the pitchforks and torches might be coming out a little bit earlier this seed than we were really honestly prepared for, but, well, we will see. The harp was in the back of Garenham. Thaddeus Nest Cardinality is in the tournament. Let me see if his race is scheduled yet. Yes, in fact, he will be racing Tilo at 9 p.m. today, since it is, or tomorrow, depending on where in the world you are. I guess for some places it might still technically be August 1st and not August 2nd. And that race does not have a channel scheduled yet either.
Yeah, that's that. I actually am looking forward to that, as we have seen so many close races or upsets so far this tournament. I mean, we had today with Game Boy F9, and the big upset there being taken out, along with the very close race between Tristal and Captain Green.
And was that Fighter's Ring in Tablet Cave, it looked like? I barely missed the cave as he got out, so I believe it didn't seem long enough that it was Mountain. I'm pretty sure that was Tablet.
But yeah, I mean, we, like I said, we had Game Boy F9, the reigning champion, being taken down by a newcomer in Tyrannex. And then, of course, we had the Tristal and Captain Green race, which was also another very close race. Tristal getting the ever-popular Tristluck, so it kind of makes me worried for Nest Cardinale going against Tilo, as Tilo has been doing very well in the weeklies, along with the casual races here lately.
Not to mention, you're quite experienced yourself, and you had one heck of a race with Eternal Newbie in what is so far, I believe, the fastest seed of the tournament.
Yeah, that is true. That was a very, very close race as well. And yeah, Eternal Newbie, another one of the newcomers that has been showing, new or not, they will definitely make sure they are known.
Ironically enough, you and I actually have the 2 fastest times in the tournament, and also 2 of the only insanely early Hurtmore seeds. So, definitely goes to show that when you get that early Hurtmore, if you're really liberal in your use of it, your seed is going to develop very, very quickly. And we're kind of seeing that again here as we had level 1 Hurt into level 4 Hurtmore. So, very, very quick seed coming together right now. Mainly just looking for the key items here. The EXP has come along absolutely fantastically for 35 minutes in.
Yeah, I had to say, I rather like Will Wagner's definition to the towns. It kind of fits in with one of our fellow commentators, Furon Burgundy's sixth town for Breckenary, cheap inn. And then, Key Town, because that's what Rimeldar's good for, is keys. Shop Town, with Cantlin having 3 shops. The Cave Town, of course, being Gierenham. The Fight Town being Hawksness. And then, of course, as we see jkoper entering Cole as well, the Please Be Erdrick's Armor Town.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, anytime you get into Cole, you definitely want to find Erdrick's Armor. Unless you already have it, in which case you want to find Erdrick's Token. And if you already have that, you're not even checking the search tile because you probably don't want the flute.
Which I believe we've seen Cole hold the armor quite a few times so far this tournament. I know for sure at least two of the races have had it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that isn't quite something I've been keeping track of. I think McGrew gets enough, not random enough, pitchforks and torches from everybody all the time, so I didn't want to keep track of things like that have vanilla implications.
Aw, sadly that never got made.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, thankfully I'm not too far in, so I could just kind of backtrack over the 6 races I've already been over and double check them real quick, but I'm more looking at some of the other more interesting facets of the randomizer. Partially fueled by the fact that I had 5 absolutely god-awful miserable practice seeds in a row, and then my race seed for the tournament was an absolute jet against Amazing Toaster in the quad race yesterday, as we have Toaster in chat as well, and that was, I went back and watched it. That was a phenomenal race if you have not seen it. All 4 people did absolutely amazingly. First place to last place was only 13 minutes, and there was not more than 10 minutes between any given racers, pretty much, as far as the respected races went. And while I might have stolen the victory from Amazing Toaster stole the highlight. He had one of the most clutch Dragon Lord kills we've seen in Rando. So if you have not gotten the glory of checking that out, after this race, if you are still staying awake, go over to Randomania 3 and definitely check that seed out. You will not be disappointed in Toaster's performance there.
Yeah, I know. I have not had the pleasure of catching all the races, but I do intend to watch them all at some point, as something in chat being mentioned by Will Wagner. Repel was not received until 16, which of course, once you're in the higher levels, can very quickly speed up your ability to traverse the map when you're trying to find those remaining things that you need to be able to actually go face the Dragon Lord. And we've actually seen a few runners so far, including Tyrannex, buying fairy water in order to use that as their repel because you don't have it yet. And that's not something that ever had crossed my mind. And I've been actually running the randomizers of this since this past December, and that never crossed my mind. So it's always good to watch the races, even your own race back, just to see, what are some things my opponent did that I didn't do, especially if they won the race. What may have allowed them to win over me? What can I pick up from that? What can help me here?
Yeah, definitely. And in that regard, I definitely like what Tyrannex did in his race, because it's definitely a lot faster to get the fairy water in Caitlyn than Breckenary, as it doesn't require a key to access and is just like a little bit more straightforward in the layout of the town. But yeah, definitely remembering that both Breckenary and Caitlyn have access to fairy water when you're repel starved. Because once you hit around like level 8 to 10, depending on what your equipment or hurt more status is, like you would much rather have repel for moving around, just to save buckets of time not seeing slimes and drolls and druins and drakies and such.
Yeah, once you start crossing into the threshold where it's about 1,000 experience per level, you really don't want to see those lower level monsters. If they're not giving you a good at least 50 experience, it's just painful to have to fight them. And to be honest, I completely forgot that Breckenary even had fairy water, because I have no need to go to that locked door. Well, maybe I do after all.
Yeah, it's definitely something that like slips the back of your mind more often than not. I think I've used Breckenary for fairy water one time, and that was on a seed where like the stats to kill the Dragon Lord were super tight and required every ounce of your MP. And I wanted the free repel because it was like a decent walk to Sharlock from the castle.
Oh yeah,
And
having repel for those
somewhere
walks
like
is
that
very
is
needed.
huge.
Yeah, when you have that long walk to Sharlock, having a repel or a fairy water is definitely a need. Good news is, as we get a good look at the spell list for Xarnax, repel will not be needed, and we do finally see Mountain Cave. I believe Xarnax did actually get the Silver Harp as well, so the only thing we're looking for cave-wise is going to be the token, unless we have coordinates.
Yep, and I guess neither runner has found Caitlyn yet.
If they have, I haven't seen it. I know we did just see jkoper get all the way through the grave, and we've been seeing mostly just a lot of fighting as exploration is going on here. And we see level 13 for Xarnax. Not really too much of a boost in stats from 12 to 13, but approaching very close to Death Necklace territory should Xarnax find a Death Necklace. For those, of course, unfamiliar with the Death Necklace, in the vanilla game, much like the Cursed Belt that Xarnax just picked up, it does nothing but curse you. The king doesn't like you anymore, tells you to get out. However, in the Randomizer, it does have a little extra added feature. For the cost of 25% of your HP, you will gain 10 attack power, and at 130 HP, it will leave you with 97, allowing for 2 full-power Dragonlord Breath attacks of 48 damage to be done and leave you with 1 health.
Indeed, and do not forget to follow both of these amazing runners. If you like literally anything randomizer related, both of these are great people to follow.
And speaking of that Death Necklace, Xarnax does indeed pick it up.
Alright, and I mean, level 13, 127 HP, 55 strength, that Death Necklace is looking pretty attractive later on when we get to looking at Dragon Lord time.
Yeah, sometimes that death necklace, putting it on can be the deciding factor between going a level earlier to the Dragon Lord or not. If you're still lacking in attack power.
Yep, very true. And we did we see Breckenary? Oh yeah, the everything has to be on the main continent. That's right. The second continent was literally worthless.
Yeah, we have seen. I believe we have seen Breckenary, but I don't believe we have seen Cantlin anywhere yet.
Yeah, which is our coordinate check to see about the token, as it does look like Overworld will be required this seed.
And something to look at here, as this has been actually plaguing both the runners so far, is look at level 13's MP count, only 45 MP. So either we're going to see a large MP gain within the next couple of levels, or we may just see a level grind for MP.
Yeah, usually you'll see one big spike like this somewhere along the lines, going towards 16. We've had a couple seeds that have had some really huge gains, notably the 59 HP. And
Oh yeah, that was
think
phenomenal.
that was the Crystal seed.
Yes,
But yeah,
that was
absolutely huge.
that was amazing. I still think that is a record, and that was indeed the Tristal race with Captain Green that had that.
And jkoper has found the Staff Cave, which was the other location we were still missing. So he will be able to trade his Silver Harp for the Staff of Rain, therefore bringing him to the point that I don't believe he actually is aware of yet, that he needs the Overworld coordinates to get Erdrick's token.
Yep,
As
we have indeed seen.
Xarnax gone through the mountain cave and not find the token.
We personally have seen, between the two of them at least, every single chest be checked now. I believe Xarnax, well he has just found it now as well. So they should, at least on Xarnax's side, realize I gotta find Cantlin, because coordinate item is the token. But jkoper, I don't believe, has actually seen all caves yet. However, if you can locate Cantlin, wherever it may be, you will most certainly check the coordinates. If you're missing one of the two items, such as the armor or the token still. And have we actually seen the Rainbow Drop Cave?
Yes, we have Basement Jerk, I believe.
Oh, we have another Basement Jerk seed. Okay.
Yep, this being the second Basement Jerk seed of the 6 I have watched. So yes, jkoper is missing the mountain cave. If he finds Cantlin before the mountain cave and sees that there are coordinates, he will in fact know that he will not need mountain cave at all. And actually, we see Sharlock in the bottom right corner of jkoper's screen, and I believe until just now, that was actually MIA as well.
Yeah,
and we have a little bit of a high five.
And yes, we do get a little high five as Xarnax now sees Sharlock, but our path to it is uncertain as of yet, as it doesn't seem there's a way to get to it from where they're at currently.
And with how small that second island is, most of the landmass is going to be congregated on that first continent. So we could have, I mean, just judging by their traveling paths so far, we've got one heck of a map here on our hands. So actually figuring out where that Sharlock is going to be quite the pain.
Yeah, this would be one of those cases where I would love to get the printout of the map just so I could see what did this thing look like.
This is one of the scenes where I would like to see Nestcard run it, just so I could see his absolute artwork that is his hand-drawn maps, because this is one heck of a map.
Oh yes, his mapping is phenomenal to watch.
I lack the understanding of how he does that so quickly on the fly while racing.
You know, I've not the only thing I could personally myself think of to do it is get a nice sheet of large graph paper, large squares rather, and then each square be a tile. That's the only way I could personally see myself doing that. But how he does it, I could not begin to imagine. And it's just
Ooh,
phenomenal.
is this Cantlin? I don't think we've seen anybody cross over that swamp bridge yet.
I believe you are correct on that. Not quite a Sparkover bridge. Oh no, it's Breckenary.
Nope. Actually, it was the missing Motel 6. They'll leave the torch on for you.
But this is unexplored territory, so Cantlin may be not far behind along with our Sharlock access.
Yeah, I would assume that Sherlock is going to probably be to the southwest here. And Cantlin, you've got this entire area, so just throw a coin up in the air. Hopefully it's not across that tiny little bridge that he just passed.
Always check the Sparko bridges, and we actually see jkoper still grinding away on enemies, whereas Xarnax is using Repel and only going after the tougher enemies. So jkoper actually doing a bit of catching up in experience here now, and we do have confirmation on our path to Sharlock. Now we just need to find Cantlin, and there is still yet more landmass past Sharlock.
I mean, this is what happens when you get such a small island for the other side of swamp, is you just get these giant, gargantuan abominations of a landmass to deal with on your main continent. Unlike something where what we had with Game Boy's Seed, where almost everything was clustered in like maybe a 3x3 screen wide first island, and then there were just like a few things to find on the second island that were important. This is everything just widely spread out all over the place.
And those are actually the seeds I love to see, because it really keeps you, and I believe we have Cantlin now right next to Sharlock, but it really keeps you on your toes with keeping track of where have I been and where was the thing I need to now return to, when it comes to locating something. Now, what Xarnax has going good for him here is he has found Cantlin, and he already has the GPS. So let's see what our coordinates are.
And those aren't even GPS required.
15 and 11, so right by the castle. And such a long way away from where he's at right now, even.
Yeah, and those are thankfully, it wasn't really extraneous circumstances to grab Gwaylin. He just kind of did it in passing one trip through the swamp cave. I'm really curious as to what he's looking for. Like, it's like 12-11 or whatever. Just go back to the castle and count it out. It's really easy.
Yeah, he seemed like he was going to do a little bit more exploring, and then checked his inventory. He's like, wait, I have everything but the token. What am I doing?
Yeah, the overworld location, in fact, is the last thing you need. There is nothing else, as we know that the jerk is residing in Tantagel Basement.
Yeah, the only thing he could be possibly missing, and this is another thing that Xarnax has on his side here, is he has explored all of the caves. So he will not be looking for Urgic's sword, whereas jkoper could either gamble the sword being in Sharlock, or continue looking. I imagine, knowing what goes through most runners' mindsets as we're approaching the hour mark, is when you have a seed like this, where you have the hurt more, and you've had to explore a bit to collect everything, you will tend to want to risk the Sharlock sword, especially as he has now found his Sharlock. He will be finding Cantlin momentarily, and then making his way to go collect that token, along with his rainbow drop.
And that's even further exaggerated by the fact that he did that early gold grind to get up the money to buy early equipment, and then struggled to find a town, tried to keep a hold of it for a little while, got some EXP, and then kind of just said, forget the gold. He might have given up on trying to hoard the gold once he got hurt more. I'm not exactly sure, but he might feel partially behind because of that. Because he did definitely have slower development in the early game. Around like the 5-6 minute mark, Xarnax had a 400 EXP lead, 600 and change versus 200 and change.
Yeah,
We've seen
sometimes,
that EXP lead grow, so jkoper very well could easily feel behind right now.
yeah, sometimes that early gold grind. If you do it and your opponent doesn't, and you find a town, it can really pay off. And then other times you don't find a town and it just goes to waste. I believe jkoper is checking the shop, so he may be searching for at least a large shield, as currently he doesn't have any shield.
And we definitely have seen silver shields.
Oh yes, there's actually one sitting right here in the top shop of Cantlin, but there is no large shield, at least the 2 unlocked locations.
Yeah, and this is how you know that jkoper is still worried about the sword, is the fact that he is not immediately recalling back to go count those coordinates out. He is, in fact, poking around looking for the mountain cave because that's the only location he hasn't checked. And he's worried about those 5. There's only 12 chests remaining. 6 in Sharlock Treasury, 5 in the mountain cave, 1 in the vanilla location for the sword in Sharlock. And yeah, those 5 in the mountain cave, since it's not like he got 2, 3, or 4 of them in the mountain cave and then died. He just hasn't found it yet, so 5 is a big enough worry that's still kind of clouding his mind, making him wonder if he needs to find the mountain cave before actually going back and getting that last piece of the puzzle to open up Sharlock. And Xarnax has the rainbow drop as well already.
And the thing that we do at least, and that was a nice 18 power and 15 magic point gain for that level on Xarnax. The thing that jkoper may still have at least somewhat of an edge over Xarnax is, depending on where Xarnax goes to grind, jkoper may get a better grind spot and be able to not only catch up into those levels, but even surpass him, depending on where each chooses to grind at.
So what do we have? We have Stoneman and Hawksness. What was the Swamp Spike tile?
I did not actually catch the Swamp boss, but you are correct.
Yeah,
Stoneman and Hawksness, that's no fun.
By the time I saw Xarnax grab the princess, like he was grabbing the princess and then walking out, I was more focused on jkoper's exploration because I believe at that point jkoper was pushing Hawksness.
Yeah, I mean, we do know the Stonemen are in Hawks, but that is not a fun grind at all. Stonemen are a pain, especially if you're lacking on MP. You really don't want to go up against Stonemen because you're going to do a lot of healing, and you're going to be going back and healing, or taking a rest at the end, fighting more, taking another rest at the end.
And what's even more notable about Hawksness is that it is legitimately nowhere near any town. So you aren't going there with the ability to like walk one screen away and heal at an inn. You have no option for that.
And our tracker Darkrid, noting that they believe it was a Stoneman in the swamp. Seeing as how we are not seeing Xarnax head for the swamp, most likely it was definitely not anything favorable, such as an Axe Knight or Blue Dragon.
I have a feeling that Xarnax might just go into Sharlock to grind. Honestly, with 70 agility, really good HP, I would honestly take a sword dive into Sharlock and just take like Axe Knights and Star Wyverns along the way. If things get a little too rough, quickly enough, you can just kind of get out and go to Cantlin, since Cantlin's like a screen and a half away.
Yeah, that is always a possibility, and looks like Xarnax might be opting to try a Fairy Flute. Wow, I couldn't talk before and I can't talk now. A Fairy Flute Golem grind. It is at least somewhat fruitful, but it's taking a long time to get those golems to actually appear.
Not to mention, every single tooting of the flute is 8 seconds of your life wasted and 8 more seconds that jkoper gets to catch up. Especially if you get an awful rude golem that just wakes up after one turn and punches you in the face. And then you gotta put it back to sleep again to finish the job. Then suddenly every golem is costing you 16 to 24 seconds depending on flute usage. That's really not what you want in your grind spot at all. We have seen Spike Axe Knights be the most popular grind spot for good reason. They don't seem available unless they are the guardian of the Dragon Lord themselves. And the second most popular grind spot so far has actually just been right inside of Sharlock on the first floor. And this is a seed where that's looking more and more attractive the further we're going here on Xarnax's crazy little adventure, because Cantlin's right there.
Yeah, many don't like using the Sharlock entryway grind, but more often than not, when your swamp grind has a poor enemy, or your grind for Hawksness is either Hawks is too far away, or it's not really a favorable enemy, if you have a town close to Sharlock, grinding in the entryway of Sharlock is often the best. Or even in Xarnax's case, we know he needs a lot more grinding to be done. The enemies in Sharlock are going to be some of the best enemies to get experience from. And if you need a sword still, while you're still traveling around grinding, you may as well check for the sword. If you get the sword, it can only benefit you. If you don't get the sword, then perhaps you missed a chest somewhere. But we know for sure it is here in Sharlock. We just don't know which chest it will be.
And it does actually look like Xarnax might be doing a sword dive, although first enemy costing 12 MP, not going to feel too great. Gets an Axe Knight, though, and that's going to be an easy pickup of 130 EXP. Axe Knights, just notorious for the fact that they are the best XP in the game.
Yeah, meanwhile, jkoper is still potentially looking for that mountain cave, but still grinding along the way, finding knights, which are still very good experience and easily hurt more down. Whereas Xarnax is having to deal with some of these dragons, the stonemen, and golems, which are definitely going to make him run out of MP very quickly, and take so much longer to take out for the experience as well.
Right now we got about a 1200 EXP lead for Xarnax, who is in item go mode effectively. Looks to be taking the dive here to check the 6 in the treasury for the sword, as that is the most logical routing that you could have right now. Definitely no reason to really entertain the idea of getting the stats for killing Dragon Lord with Flame Sword. This isn't really the seed for it, because it's basically just probably going to be right in front of you, unless it is vanilla, in which case, vanilla sword.
We see jkoper is actually going ahead and picking up his token. We'll probably go ahead and grab his rainbow drop as well. Seems to have given up his search on the mountain cave for the Erdrick sword. Myself personally, because I've had it happen to me one too many times, I will actually always go vanilla location for the sword first before going to treasury. It'll pay off in spades if it's there, and could potentially be what costs you the race if it's not. So I mean, it's a coin flip on it. But I'd rather lose the race because I was being throw and checking than lose the race because I didn't check, had to go back and then collect it and come back again. It takes so much more time to have to reverse, go to the vanilla location, and then go back to the bottom floor again than it does to just check it while you're on the way down.
Yeah, I can kind of see your point, especially when you can outside and then go heal at a town in that case, and that's something maybe to think about. Like, right now, Xarnax is diving for the sword. He has 0 chance of being a Dragon Lord. If he has outside, it could actually just be completely reasonable to actually check that vanilla sword location first, because you're already kind of committing to, like, this being very much a half bid to find the sword. and to get some EXP along the way. So if your kind of dive ends by you outsiding and going back to Cantlin to heal, you kind of already expected that anyhow. You're pretty sure he doesn't want to walk back here. Even if he is grinding, he's probably going to try to hold enough MP to outside, because you don't really want to make that walk back. It's a pretty far hike from what it's looked like so far on the map, so...
Yeah, it
There's
is
always that to think
a
about.
fairly decent distance away. That is for sure. And I mean, the time it would cost you, because you have to go so many floors back. You have to walk back to the stairs, and then it's 2 floors back to get to the floor that has the staircase to lead you to the sword. So I mean, you're talking about at least 1.5 to 2 minutes of time lost if you have to retrace your steps. The only way that it would be beneficial is if you go down, check the treasury, say, well, now I know where it's at, so when I actually make my real attempt on the Dragon Lord, I can keep grinding, get what I need, until I have the stats where the sword would put me where I want to be, and I'll grab the sword on the way if I still need it. Unless, you get a good level that puts you with Flame Sword where you would need to be.
And in fact, we see Xarnax doing exactly that. He kind of understood that this was a very much half-hearted grind dive for the sword. He's got every spell in the game already, so he is going to check that vanilla location and probably just immediately outside out and heal up. Pretty unfortunate to have the hurt more whiff there, because it burns his MP and pretty much means that he cannot spend any more MP here.
Oh no,
And
it's empty.
Unfortunately, it's an herb or a magic key. Though, we're actually going to see him hike it back out. And then continue the dive to the treasury. He wants the sword on this go. And I think he's going to commit fully to the treasury unless something beats him up enough that he feels extremely unsafe and wants to just get out now rather than later. And then at least he'll have the knowledge now that the sword is in the treasury.
Yeah, no matter what, he at least has that knowledge. So even if he were to take an unfortunate death and not be able to make it out, especially with running into this golem here, but he does get away. He has a fairy flute if he really needs to hustle a way out. He has the knowledge, so if at any point when he goes to make a real attempt on the Dragon Lord, he can just pick it up on his way.
Yeah, it's very true, but even, with all the discussion about Erdrick's sword, it's still not enough by itself.
No, currently it would not be.
We need a lot of help to fight the Dragon Lord right now.
But with the sword and with Death Necklace, it would put us very close to what would be the desirable attack power amount.
The only issue is the lack of MP right now is requiring a lot higher attack power to have a successful Dragon Lord.
Alright, that MP is the real killer right now, and we see, I believe jkoper jkoper has found Mountain Cave, so he will pick up a Death Necklace. He will,
and I believe a Fighter's Ring as well.
Yeah, he will pick up a Fighter's Ring, but he is going to get the unfortunate news that the sword is going to be in Sharlock. And so far...
And this is definitely where going to Treasury, usually, it's 6 out of 7 versus 1 out of 7. I don't know the percentage maths. I think that's, 14 or so. Trying to do really quick math. 14 and change. So... usually, you're favored taking Treasury. Like you mentioned, though, it's just ultimate feels bad men when you get through the 6 chests in the Treasury. You don't have the big stick yet, and you're just like, well, this feels awful. And then if you're like me, you have to immediately go on your second monitor and bring up your map for Sherlock because you don't remember how to get to the sword.
Ah, there we are. In the top left chest holds the sword. And we do
All right,
see
so with
a
that,
level up on Xarnax's side as well, but wow, that agility and defense at level 15 is very nice. And with Death Necklace, he has the attack power, but does not have the MP necessary. So a grind for MP to fight Dragon Lord is what we're at right now, it looks like.
yeah, and that's really unfortunate too that it's only 97 defense, because if it was 3 higher, he would defense break Stonemen, and then the spike tile grinds for that little bit extra look more attractive, because it's a Stoneman, it didn't show any nasty skills, and if it's defense broken, well, it's pretty favorable for the player, usually. The real question here is going to be, what is the spike tile in the Dragon Lord's chamber? Because if that is the better grind spot, then no reason to not actually just grind there.
And it does appear that Xarnax is looking to take a peek at that, but a blue dragon just really wailing on him. Meanwhile, jkoper has acquired his Death Necklace, has left the mountain cave, knows exactly where he can find the sword now, and we may be seeing jkoper do exactly what Xarnax has done, which is go straight into Sharlock, hoping that a grind on the way will be what will give him what he needs, pick up the sword, and go straight to the Dragon Lord, perhaps.
And Xarnax getting extremely lucky with that critical right there. I would not be fighting these blue dragons. They've shown sleep. They have baby breath. Like, you're at 34 HP, 5 MP, and you really would have liked to get that last, 20 steps to see that spike tile, because you know you need to grind more. And
no knowledge for Xarnax, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would have definitely just been running from those blue dragons to get the knowledge, because knowing that you need at least 1 more level, possibly even 2, the knowledge of, if that's an Axe Knight there, that knowledge is huge, because you would immediately just dive straight back in, get there, just obliterate Axe Knights for 5 minutes, get your EXP, outside straight back out of there if you have enough MP left, walk your way to Caitlyn, and then you're diving for the actual Dragon Lord this time.
Yeah, especially right now, with the amount of defense that Xarnax has due to picking up a silver shield, I believe he would actually be defense breaking the Axe Knights. They would be doing anywhere from 1 to 15 damage, which, it is completely negligible.
Yeah, 94 is the defense break for Axe Knights. What's notable is that if he requires 17, 1 defense point, and he's defense breaking blue dragons. So we just saw a blue dragon take him down. That could definitely be beneficial once he gets 1 more level up for the future.
Well, except for the problem there is the blue dragons were being quite hefty with the baby breath, and that is actually a fairly nasty bottom floor, as there was blue dragons galore to be dealt with. So a definite possible slept and wrecked in the future on that bottom floor. The good news is, at least after 6 turns, you are guaranteed to wake up.
Yeah, and if you're at full, you aren't going to die in 6 turns, especially if you're defense breaking the blue dragons. Then you're looking at, the physical of the blue dragon at its worst is about the same as the worst baby breath roll, so it's not too terrible. And blue dragons, for what it's worth, aren't really bad EXP either. And yet another Kaishin no Ichigeki for Xarnax on the red dragon. Nice, big, fat 255 EXP there.
Yeah,
As
honestly,
we see both of our runners kind of just looking for EXP. Koper knows that the sword is going to be in Sharlock, so he's on his way over there right now, I would assume, to both get the sword and get some EXP.
I mean, honestly, blue dragons. If you can find a blue dragon in a swamp spot or the Hawk's Nest spot, and you have reliable healing nearby, particularly if you happen to have a swamp that takes you to the back of Garenham, and it's the northern entrance. That is actually the best spot because you can fight your way down to 8 MP outside back to Garenham, walk to the inn, go back into the swamp. I mean, it makes for a very, very nice grind. Especially if it's Axe Knights there, that's even better because Axe Knights die way easier than a blue dragon does. Generally, anything other than Axe Knight or Blue Dragon, you really don't want to see. You don't want to see the Stonemen, you don't want to see the Golems, you don't want to see the Armored Knights, and you don't want to see the Red Dragons unless they are just babies and don't really do much. If they like to cast Stop Spell a lot, hey, you got Erdrick's Armor, doesn't touch you. If they like casting Hurt a lot, if you have the Magic Armor or Erdrick's Armor, doesn't do much.
What was in the bottom of Garenham? I missed that.
I believe that was gold.
Was it just like bonus cave or something?
Yeah, I think it was just. I think I believe the bottom chest in Garenham was actually just gold.
Okay, because I'm keeping track of like what is down the steps in Garenham. Whether it's Swamp, Jerk, Staff, Grave, Mountain, or something else.
Right. Yeah. I think it was the bonus cave, and I think that it was a chest full of gold. I could be wrong, but I believe that's what it was.
All right. Well, what is notable then with this seed is out of the 6, this is actually our first sword in Sharlock. So, a lot of people from the Chaos tournament. There is probably some salt at times because Sword was like always in Sharlock in that tournament.
Oh yeah, I want to
like
say 9 out of 10.
70% was in Sharlock.
Yeah, there was a lot of Sharlock Erdrick swords. I mean, when you look at it, it has to be in a chest, and there are certain other items that have to be in a chest outside of Sharlock. So there are some things that get taken up by it, such as the harp, the stones, and then you also have potentially the token along with the flute. Now the flute can be in Sharlock, but guarantee you have the stones and the harp taking up some of your chest outside of Sharlock. And so you're already losing 2 chests. But with
we see jkoper going to grind Stonemen in Hawk's Nest, and this is an interesting decision because he's also really close to that silver shield.
Yeah, it is a grind. It's just maybe not the best. But yeah, so close to that silver shield, that would be a great benefit to him right now if he could pick that up. We do see Xarnax is at 16. We have 11 heal mores. And with using Death Necklace would be at 133 attack power. So we are actually going to be looking at a 16 and 8 minimum. So average of 12 damage with 11 heal mores. It is doable. But it's if some of those rolls are low, it is risky. But we will see Xarnax making the attempt to go down and defeat the Dragon Lord.
Yeah, I mean, he'll have 108 HP even after the Death Necklace, so like he's very much safe with the Death Necklace on. It's really just a matter of the math. Like you said, it's an 8 to 16 range. So 12 average damage, 11 heal mores, plus a couple. He would probably need somewhere like 2 or 3 doubles, most likely, to close that out. Thaddeus, so the range is basically AP minus 100 and then the lower end of your damage is a quarter of that rounded down, and the upper is half rounded down. So 32 divided by 4 it still ends up giving you an 8 minimum.
Yeah, with using Death Necklace, that would put him at 133, so it'd be a 16.5 rounded down to 16, and then 8.25 rounded down to 8. So yeah, he would still have 816. But yeah, definitely, even with averaging a 12 there, definitely want to see more than 12, because even with 13 hits, accounting for 11 heal mores, plus an initial hit and a last hit, you're looking at only 156, which, if the Dragon Lord has more than 156, you are done for.
Yeah, but you have 108 max HP. You need one double to pretty much guarantee it on average rolls. And even without, like, the one double, if you roll a little bit above average, then suddenly you're looking at like an 80 to 90 plus % chance, or even possibly better.
Yeah, you really do want to see above average rolls when you're going that close.
And the other thing here is 97 defense. I'd be hard pressed to bet against Xarnax getting at least one double.
Yeah, the defense is definitely going to be very beneficial here, as that will most definitely allow for some much lower damage being done by the Dragon Lord.
And I definitely like that he's going here, because also the other thing we haven't mentioned yet, 93 agility, you're going to have a pretty smooth walk down here. Your big worry is right here on this floor, failing a run against a blue dragon, getting slept, and losing like 70 HP before you can wake up and try to run. That's like your biggest worry by far.
Yeah, that would definitely be the worry there. Also, something you would have to look out for would also be getting ambushed by the Dragon Lord, losing you that first hit and causing you to potentially have to use a heal more, depending on how your fight with Dragon Lord 1 goes.
Yeah, those are obviously the factors that we can't just math that out, because that involves RNG for sure. But yeah, if you get back attacked by DL2, you're looking at needing one or two more doubles to make up for the fact that you probably don't get that first swing because you might need to heal.
And we do see Xarnax opting to actually fight the blue dragon. He does get slept, does take a fair bit of damage before taking it out. And actually is not far from level 17, which could have a ton of attack power and making this fight just trivial for him. We do see jkoper is not too far behind and will be picking up a silver shield now as well. Oh, actually not. There is not a silver shield here in Cole, but is searching for that silver shield.
So he's about... The EXP gap has widened a little bit. Since last time I checked, it was 1200. Now it's 28. So definitely a little bit of a gain here for Xarnax. So here's the question I want to pose to you, Ryu. If Spike Tile, which did Xarnax check Spike Tile yet?
He has not. It looks like he's going for the walk heal before checking Spike Tile, but he's running into enemies and fighting them along the way as well.
Well, the ones that he was fighting, at least until this blue dragon showed up, were defense broken. That's the big thing right here, right? If it's an Axe Knight, it's defense broken. Like, the only things down here that he's really not going to defense break are AK-47, Stoneman, Blue Dragon, Red Dragon, depending on what of that crew is actually here.
And I have to imagine he is going to go ahead and go for that level 17, just to more guarantee the fight against Dragon Lord, along with potentially not even having to use the Death Necklace, and then he will have double attacks definitely coming in. Potentially even starting with a triple attack.
Yeah, if you're north of 130 going into DL2 and you don't get ambushed, you're you're really hard pressed to not get a triple to open that. But I would definitely check the spike tile here, because if it's like an Axeland or something you have defense broken, that's a little bit faster on your grind, at least, than just kind of walk healing around. You know what? Maybe he did check it and he saw it was a red dragon and he ran? But even this right now, he's going to have to take one battle before the Dragon Lord to actually get that level 17.
Yeah, I don't believe he checked it, but I mean, you could sit here right in front of Dragon Lord walking, and doing exactly that.
And then you would at least have the knowledge of what the guard was in case it was an actual, like, good grind.
Oh,
and
man, at 9 power. Oh, and there's the
Yeah.
magic. 12 more magic. That would put it at 100 MP now. And
yeah,
he
but
is going to go ahead and go with
necklace
that,
on
too.
that extra power, this is free.
Yeah, we're at 142, so we're actually going to be looking at a max damage of 21 at this point, and a minimum of 10, so averaging 15. Yeah, I mean, no questions asked, this fight is guaranteed for Xarnax. Unless something horrendous happens.
He needs to have the Trollius Dragon Lord 1 into an ambush, I think, to even sweat this.
And, well, Dragon Lord 1 is being a pretty tough one here.
Yeah, this is actually really bad, going in with 52. But we don't get ambushed. Niggle 9000. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that quite right. What does the Curse Necklace do? So, it reduces your maximum health by 25% while you have it equipped, in exchange for 10 attack power. Additionally, it is cursed, meaning if you die with it, you will be promptly kicked out of the castle with 1 HP, meaning that you will need to either walk your way to an inn or find Breckenary and get decursed so you can re-enter the castle. However, should you take down the Dragon Lord with it equipped, you will magically become uncursed and be able to actually complete the game without visiting Breckenary prior to returning the Ball of Light to Tentagel.
Yeah, that is apparently something. I guess maybe the Ball of Light lifts the curse, so the king all of a sudden just doesn't care anymore. You're cursed, but you saved us, so who cares?
I like to think of it that the curse originates from Dragon Lord's magic because he's evil, and he's the evil that's like shadowing over the land. And then when you get the Ball of Light back and you restore light to the land, it breaks all of the curses that exist. I don't know whether there's maybe actually like lore evidence. Perhaps one of the towns actually has like a cursed dude who like isn't cursed once you get the Ball of Light. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't believe that there is, but I mean, the Ball of Light does remove all of the, I guess you could say the evil or the wickedness, as you see Radiant streams forth, and thy hands touch it, and yeah, that stuff, and across the land,
all
everything
this brilliance
is good.
and fun stuff, yeah. But one heal more left. Probably a little bit closer than we were making that fight out to be. I think it was mostly due to like a really bad DL1 that just didn't want to be friendly at all. But we do have Xarnax returning to the palace. He will, but thou must.
Yeah,
Except Waylon on his journey.
We have a return to the castle just as jkoper enters the castle. And we will see a official time of 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 27 seconds from Xarnax. So congratulations and GG to Xarnax on a rather tough seed. Exploration-wise, that was a very tough one for sure. And then the grind was, looking for that MP was also just horrendous.
Indeed, and with that, we have another run aiming to finish at 17, which is so far looking to be the most common outcome thus far in the tournament. Gonna see if Xarnax wants to join for a post-race interview. I know it is late for everybody involved, I think, unless we have any Europeans, in which case, good morning to you, as it will probably be somewhere around 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And with that, I believe we are joined by Xarnax42.
Hello.
Hello, good evening / morning, and GG. That was quite a race.
Oh man, that was a fun one. Where is he right now?
I'm inclined because he's level 15 to say that he is diving Sharlock to get the sword.
Yeah, I believe he just entered the 4th floor of Sharlock.
Oh man, 15.
Yeah, he had an unfortunate luck with the exploration and continued searching all over for the mountain cave.
Oh man, I guess I did get. I felt lucky that I felt like I explored. Maybe not. I felt like I got really lucky in the way I explored. Things came like in a good order for me, and in the way the world was laid out, just kind of working around the coast in the order that I did worked out really well.
Yeah, interesting enough, you actually both found Sharlock and Cantlin. I want to say probably within a minute of each other. However, as jkoper had not found the mountain cave, he was, after getting the coordinates, continued searching the land around Cantlin before actually returning to the castle. So a curious question, when you were grinding just before the Dragon Lord to get level 17, as level 16, it was not a pure guarantee with those 11 heal mores.
Oh, it was scary, yeah. The grind itself was scary.
Yeah, we were actually curious as to why you chose not to check the boss tile to see, what was there. Perhaps being an Axe Knight, and then being a much more favorable grind guaranteed Axe Knight that you were defense breaking.
Oh, I didn't even think about defense break. The Axe Knights were still doing enough damage that I needed to be able to walk and heal in between fights. That was my. When I got to that tile, my HP was around like 80 or so. And I didn't want to have to use a heal more if I didn't have to. So yeah, in the that it were or what it happened to be, I wanted to. I would have gone sooner than I did if I had managed to walk up my health closer to maximum. But I just kept getting encounters while I was trying to do that, and they were good encounters, so I just went with that.
Yeah, there was a blue dragon that gave you a rough time. It dropped you down into the 80s, and then you just a couple of steps and encounter, a couple of steps encounter. So yeah, you really weren't getting much time to try and do the walk health gain. We do see jkoper is on the bottom floor. Does go ahead and skip the vanilla location. Out of curiosity, I know personally why I always check the vanilla location myself when the sword is guaranteed to be in Sharlock. What was your reasoning behind going ahead and checking that space?
I actually, after I did it, I realized it was probably not the right play. Generally, that's my default if I am not going to fight the Dragon Lord on that dive. Because so usually though, if that's the case, I'm fighting and I'm not skipping fights, and so I'm basically just walking. It's basically any normal overworld exploration combination grind where you're fighting everything you come across. So you're not losing time if it ends up being the wrong bet. Although my MP was so low and I was conserving it, and so I ended up having to run from a lot of fights on my way down there. And in that case, I think the better odds play would have been to go to directly to the treasury.
All right, fair enough.
Interesting. We just saw jkoper get the sword outside out at level 16, presumably to heal, and then return back to the castle instead of just walking right around the corner of Sharlock to Cantlin.
Yeah,
Definitely an interesting choice there.
not too sure as to what he did, and he seems to be not quite remembering the way to get there, or
The Hawksness to grind the Stone Man. I definitely considered that. There was no great place to grind.
this was definitely another case of not being a favorable grind seed. What actually was the boss in the swamp cave?
It was a Stone Man.
It was also okay. So Darkwood was correct on that.
Yeah, and both Swamp and Hawksness are just nowhere near a town to heal, so neither of those grinds for Stonemen just look less attractive without a nearby inn to go rest at repeatedly.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, at any point did you feel behind?
A little bit. Mostly, like, once I had gotten everything, I really had no idea if he had better luck grinding. I wasn't convinced that what I was doing was the optimal way to get experience, and so I was definitely worried that he was ahead of me just on either better luck and better decision making.
Yeah, so you pretty much had a EXP lead for, I believe, the entirety of the game. Right out of the gate, jkoper elected to gold grind by going back up into the throne room to save, and that put 6 chests in memory, and then he immediately went to the treasury because you guys had an extra key to start with. And that's something I'm kind of curious about, your routing with not using that extra key that you had early on. But you just went boots on the ground immediately, got right outside the castle, and started putting that level 1 hurt spell to use to get a very nice EXP lead early, which allowed you, especially once you hit level 4 and got hurt more, to kind of push a few extra screens around. Meanwhile, jkoper was kind of carrying this burden of about 10,000 gold, really hoping to find a nearby town, and the closest town was still a little bit away.
Yeah, but so far we've seen that be done in another race. We saw it with Tristal and Captain Green's race, where Tristal did exactly that as well, and was holding on to that gold for a very long period as his towns were. Or was it Tristal or was it Game Boy?
It was Tristal.
Okay, it was
Tristal.
Tristal.
He had the full 32,000 right out of the gate at level 1.
Yeah, he got the gold for everything. He was looking to buy the sword, the armor, and the shield, and it didn't really work into his favor either, as he never really got to purchase anything with that gold that he held onto for so long. Especially as the first town found, it was a club, chainmail, and I think a large shield at most. So we haven't really seen that tactic work out very well. Yeah, we haven't really seen that early grind tactic work, to our favor so far. It can certainly work, but so far, it hasn't been favorable.
I don't think I actually even knew that you could do that.
I didn't either until I watched Tristal's race to take down the stat information, and I saw Tristal do it, and they covered the fact that if you go back into the throne room to save when you have like that extra key, it actually doubles up those chests in the memory, so then you can gold grind in the treasury as long as it's not the first or second chest that you open. I was like, oh, that's nifty. I think the big thing with that, though, you have to do it blind, right? Like, you have to commit to that gold grind before you leave the castle and know that there's a town nearby. So It's kind of risk reward.
Correct. There's a couple of different options you have with that grind being available, and since I was still a little busy setting things up, I actually missed saying that was what happened, so I didn't actually get a chance to explain it. It is very interesting that the very first time you load into the new file, you start with the 3 chests in memory that you open to get out of the throne room, and when you get those 2 magic keys, you're able to leave and keep a key. And for whatever reason, when you return, it puts those 3 chests in again. It only does it the very first time. It doesn't do it any other time, so you can't just, set up a gold grind whenever you want by, dying to the throne room, leaving and going back. It just won't work that way. But I mean, you have a few options there. You can either, oh great, I have the potential to grind gold, so go in, see what's in the treasury, maybe take a few steps outside the castle, see is there a town nearby, and maybe even check the shop real quick, and then say, all right, that's available, reset, new file, and then go ahead and get the gold grind going. Or as jkoper did and Tristal did, just blindly take the gold grind and go for it. So I mean, there's a few options. Both options can potentially lose you a decent amount of time if it goes badly. Well, darn, now I need to do the gold grind, so losing time there, or well, there's no town, so just lost the time getting the gold. So it's the pros versus cons. If it pays off in spades. If it doesn't, you're losing time.
Yeah, and in a seed like this where you guys had level 1 hurt, it's that much more costly, because if you go for that grind and your opponent, like Xarnax did, just went out and just started slamming hurt on things to get that early EXP, you had, at like the 5-minute mark, you had 600 and change, and jkoper only had 200 and change EXP. And that lead steadily grew. Right when you were starting to kind of get into Sharlock to find the sword, you had about like a 12 to 1500 EXP lead. And then when you were pushing down for level 17 to get the Dragon Lord, you were almost at a 3000 EXP lead.
Oh, wow.
But a lot of that was the fact that you, on your natural exploration route, did actually find the mountain cave. jkoper missed it initially, and then when he got down to, I haven't seen mountain and I haven't been in Sharlock, and the sword is one of those two, he took the more cautious route and searched for mountain cave first, which, he found his death necklace, which is possibly going to help him push over Dragon Lord here. But
Oof,
yeah,
that is the
it
third
costs him
8
time.
I've seen in a row now.
And this was the dangerous fight that we actually talked about for Xarnax before Xarnax opted into 17.
We have
On
last
paper, this
Kilmer going
looks
out.
alright.
So two
2 more attacks.
2 more hits. Will this last hit do it? Oh
No. And
no.
it looks like a lot of below average rolls there. And like we did say, you either needed to get like a couple extra doubles or you needed consistently above average rolls for that to work out.
Not only that, I'm pretty sure Dragon Lord had either 164 or 165. If I was counting correctly, my second to last hit had him at 163.
Well, through the magic of cheat sheets, I can actually answer that question for you. This was actually a 165 HP Dragon Lord.
So absolute max.
Yeah, it's not often that we actually get to see a 165 HP Dragon Lord 2, but in this case, it was the max HP. But yeah, we do see a forfeit comes out from jkoper, and honestly, after the way that seed was, I can't say I blame him. It was definitely a tough fought seed. The grind was just horrendous, because the whole seed is, even at level 17, you finally get up to 100 MP, but the whole seed you're just missing out on that MP. The whole way through, while the rest of the stats, especially HP, were looking just really great in your favor. And then, of course, the other side of Swamp, having just a little small plot of land, so you had this huge landmass to explore. It was definitely a tough seed, and we are joined by jkoper. And thoughts on that seed?
Well said.
No words can express the feelings of jkoper on that seed.
All in all, that seed wasn't like the seed itself statistically wasn't bad because you guys had like decently early heal and hurt more, but the map was you guys are in the running for the worst map of the tournament so far, I think.
Yeah, that was an interesting map for sure. I I really felt like there I was gonna miss something.
Yeah, you had Dragon Lord's little resort island on the other side of Swamp Cave, and that alone just automatically means there's more landmass on the main continent, and everything was so spread out.
I know, myself personally, the map that I had for my race, it was just so twisty and windy that I did miss things. I never found Canlin or Hawk's Nest. Thankfully, neither were needed. And with a
Oh,
map this size, yeah, it's. I believe we are actually hearing jkoper now.
yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot about the push to talk again. It's been a while since I've been on a call. So, yeah. Um, yeah, just the MP was super low the whole time, and that was the biggest deal. And the I didn't think the map was that bad, but the exploration didn't go well for me because like I decided I was going to look for Mountain Cave for the sword, and that was in like the last possible place for me, pretty much. And that whole northwest section of the map was just a huge time sink. Um, so I don't know. I don't know if I found Hawksness early or not. It felt like maybe I did, but at the same time, not really. Compared to when Xarnax found it, perhaps. But either way,
You
it was a
did
pain.
find it first.
Okay. Yeah, it was still a pain getting through the Stone Man with the limited MP, but that just took a few tries. Um, I thought I didn't know that it was necessarily my best move to get the money for the Silver Shield naturally, but I was so close. I was like, well, they're just going to do this. It's something that never happens. Um, and I didn't know that I had a good way to set up a gold grind anyway. There, I don't know if anything in the mountain cave would have been killing me very quickly at all. So, um, yeah, unless I went back to the grave or something, that wasn't going to happen. But I don't know. Obviously, I got beat bad here, but I'd like to hear thoughts on where it went wrong or whatever.
The two big questions I think I have was the right at the beginning. We saw you and Zarnax immediately have divergent paths. You opted into that kind of like new tech gold grind that a lot of runners didn't actually know existed with the double back on the double key start into the throne room and set up the like right at the beginning of the game gold grind like Tristal did, and you opted to go to about 10,000 and change. Zarnak just went straight out, left the castle, didn't even check the treasury at all, and just started putting the level 1 hurt spell to use. So I was curious as to um, the what the decision making was for the either the gold grind or the level 1 hurt there, since both were available.
Well, um, I wanted to basically I checked the treasury immediately in case it has Erdrick's sword. Um, and I wasn't even thinking really about the gold grind. Um, I saved so that if the treasury was a complete bust, that I could just reset and get my key back. And then it happened that I both found a key in there, and then there was gold. And by the time I started grabbing the chest, uh, you know, I already had the gold glitch in effect, and I didn't know
There
it.
was a
Like,
key in the treasury.
yeah,
I got 3 bamboo poles, so I didn't I missed that one of them was a key.
yeah. There's the key of an herb and the stones of sunlight, I believe. Um, yeah. So I wasn't really anticipating the gold glitch, but like when it happened, I was like, you know, I know this can happen, and it's maybe happened for me once before, perhaps. Um, but you know, I knew it was a thing, and I just said, well, I didn't know what was outside, and it's so hard to grind when you don't do. But the grinding to 10,000 didn't take too long, so I just figured that was the number to do. Like going to 35,000 or whatever would be a bit overboard when I have no idea what I can reach. But 10,000 is like I don't know, maybe a minute. It seemed worth it to have that money to be able to get something right away. And I did die eventually and lose half of it, but I still was able to buy the um some stuff with that money, like the full plate and a couple other little things. So I don't I don't know that I regret that necessarily. Um, but yeah, there's a certain freedom when you don't have that money and you are able to die without worrying about that. And if you get, you know, especially since we had so little MP and you wanted to be using MP constantly with the hurt spell, um, it, you either have to keep going back inside the castle to refill your MP, or you have to, um, just die to get your MP back. So dying is, I think, faster in general, and not having that liberty is limiting. So that might have slowed me down at the start. But I still don't know that I regret it. The towns weren't that far away overall. I think the race I was watching a little earlier, BT and um whoever the other person was, sorry, they had a swamp barrier to get through to get to any town. Anyway, that overworld sounded much worse than ours. So yeah. Anyway, there was another question, I think.
It was just an interesting. I don't know whether it was just maybe just a slight like lapse really late into the race, but you got the sword. You outsided from Sharlock, and then you kind of like paused for a second, and then you returned. And I was just curious as to whether that was intentional, or did you forget that Caitlin was right around the corner? Because it looked like you were just going out to heal, because you had hit 16 and you were down a good chunk of your MP. So you obviously knew that a Dragon Lord attempt wouldn't work, but you had the MP to outside, so save a little bit of time.
Oh yeah, I forgot Caitlin was there. I figured that I was going to be walking back to Breckenary, and it was not that big of a difference to go one way or the other. So I don't know. Oh, where did Xarnax do grinding?
That was kind of an all-over grind, but I believe most of it was Sharlock.
Yeah, got most of my experience just while I was exploring. And then I think my last level and a half maybe was in Sharlock. Well, until I got 16, and then I used the inn in Cantlin and got 17 on my way down to the Dragon Lord.
Oh, so you got 17, you finished there?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure 16 was good enough.
It would have been made if it was really borderline, like whether or not to go. And then knowing that Dragonlord had max health, it was a very, very low odds.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would have had him if he hadn't back attacked me. But then, I got a couple doubles and took a chance once or twice. But that's, I mean, that's part of fighting him. So I don't know that it's necessarily that lucky as much as you can kind of expect it when you have that much HP.
Yeah, we tried to run the numbers. It looked like one double was probably required. With like perfectly average rolls. The other thing we did notice with your fight was you had a lot of below average rolls too. So that combined with the back attack definitely didn't do you any favors. Ryu and I were definitely kind of back and forth on that in the booth, wondering if Xarnax should have gone at 16. The other big notable thing, you didn't have the fighter ring, jkoper. Xarnax did, and that was actually a break point.
Was it in the Erdrick's cave?
I did not catch where he picked
I
it
don't
up.
remember where it was actually.
Yeah, I didn't.
Did you
catch
do
that
the
as
Erdrick's
well.
cave? Did you do the tablet chest?
I did.
That must have been where it was, unless you did the vanilla sword chest, because those are the only two chests I didn't open.
Yeah,
he did vanilla sword, but it was just an herb or a key.
Really? Why you did that first?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. That feels like a silly gamble to me. But I guess if you want to do that, that's fine.
I think I was talking about it earlier. I did explain why it was probably not a good move in hindsight, but usually, and the reason was because I was running from so many enemies at the time. But usually, if I'm still grinding, it doesn't make a difference which one you check first.
I disagree. There's 6 chests at the bottom, so a 6/7 chance that you'll never have to check that other chest at all.
I think the big thing was Xarnax's first dive into Sharlock was at like level 14 or maybe 15 just to gain EXP and get the sword. So even though he did go to the dead end to check the 1 out of 7 for the sword, he was still getting EXP knowing that he was either going to just wipe and walk back or outside back out and heal back up. So in that, like, you're getting your EXP on the way. So it's not as time costly as like you would mathematically think it would be, since you're going to have to dive again anyways, and on the second dive you just stop at the treasury because you're on your way to presumably kill the Dragon Lord that time anyways.
Yeah, I was grinding when I went to go pick up my sword too, so I don't know that was necessarily different. I might have had a slightly tired level, perhaps. I don't know. I wanted to have a good amount of MP when I started going down there. And then when I got 60, that was good. I think that was at 15 though, wasn't it? I believe it was. Anyway, did you get a silver shield too, Xarnax?
I did. I also just thought of another reason that I like the early vanilla chest, which is, especially in my situation, I wasn't guaranteed to even be able to make it, like, because we're low on MP. You get a bad fight and you're not going to be able to continue. If I get to the vanilla chest and I check it and I know it's not Erdrick's sword, I can consider doing all of my grinding and then just pick up the Erdrick sword from the treasury on the same dive I'm fighting the Dragon Lord.
Okay. So did you set up a normal gold grind at some point?
Yeah, from Garen's Grave.
Yeah, that that makes sense. I think. Oh, I ended up walking out of Garen's grave. That was slower, but why did I do that? Oh, because I wanted to explore more. But I probably should have taken the death there. I don't remember what was in there, but there was something that would have been easy to die to. I don't know. That was probably a mistake, I guess. I don't remember. Maybe I had a lot of gold already, and I was thinking about the possibility of not having it. I'm not really sure why I didn't just do a gold grind from the grave.
I'm trying to think of when you returned from the grave. As you both did actually walk back out, if I remember correctly there. I can't really recall how much gold you had at that point. It's much too late for remembering for me. But it was definitely a great race to watch. Any final comments? Well, actually, one more question. When does jkoper get a Trogdor sprite?
Well, there is a Trogdor sprite that exists. It's not in the randomizer proper because those Xarnax did a great job with it. What he did do, um, it doesn't have an up and down facing sprite, so it's a little, um, it's just a little frustrating to use sometimes because like you don't know if you're facing a shopkeeper sometimes, for example. So you end up talking to them and there's no one there, or if you're in a cave, then you don't know sometimes which direction you're facing because that's how the game works. I saw, and it also doesn't have a princess carrying sprite, so it just ends up being really glitchy.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
So
I'd
the
love to have it.
actual answer to the question is when somebody volunteers to make one.
Well,
Fair enough.
there is a sprite made. It just needs to be completed, I would say, because it's pretty good as it is.
All right. Well, any final comments from either Xarnax, jkoper, or Azriel before
Oh,
we wrap this up?
the the uh, the enemies with sleep were pretty annoying. I
Yeah.
don't know if they were as bad for Xarnax as they were for me, but they wasted quite a bit of time for me.
Yeah,
So,
Xarnax was taking a couple fights with the baby breath sleep blue dragons on Dragon Lord's floor, and we were a little questionable about that with 93 agility. Might have been just better to run from them.
Yeah, for me they were annoying, but they never gave me any major. They gave me a couple scares, but never any trouble.
Yeah. On those blue dragons, it was 50% chance sleep being cast.
I think I saw one blue dragon in the whole seed, maybe one or two. I don't know. Uh, but yeah, the demon knights and the race were just frustrating because my attack was so low that I couldn't easily take them out, and then they would put me to sleep and just nibble at me, and I don't know. And I didn't want to hurt more them because I didn't want to waste what little MP I had, and then I didn't have stop spells, so I couldn't go that route. And then when I tried stop spell, finally it wasn't working. So I don't know, just a bunch of things combined together. Anyway,
Yeah, those
oh
were also on the Demon Knights. Those were also 50% and only a 516 stop spell, so it was surprising it didn't work.
yeah, guess I got unlucky. That's alright.
That is the magic of RNG for you.
Well, yeah, thanks for jumping in to restream this and commentate. Thanks for the race, man. GG.
Yep, good game. Thanks everyone. See you next time, I guess.
Any final comments, Asriel?
I don't really think we need anything more. We will have Xarnax advancing to 1-0. Jkoper will move to the 0-1 bracket, and just gotta stay tuned. We have, looks like, three races coming up later tonight at nighttime EST, one of which will feature an S cardinality. So, big ticket race on the horizon today. And yeah, till next time.
For that, I will say good night, King. Good night, Dragon Lord. Good night, Erdrick's Sword.